Okay. First of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you, God. To hear how perps have to dumb themselves down and what they consider being winners and what makes them feel like they're winners is almost the most pathetic things I ever heard in my life. And to hear the characters and the gimmickiness of these perps is a joke. It's comical, even though what's going to happen to me is going to be horrible. To imagine some grown man or woman or any adult or anybody who has to stoop to this level, especially adults, is the most pathetic. I'm hearing this woman or this person sound like a female gendered individual try to sound the most menacing, badass human being via V2K. That's where a lot of them get the courage from, because the reality is they don't want to look this stupid in person. It's illogical. It's not even illogical. It's just idiotic. I remember when I was listening to like the horrible things that children go through, and seeing how like a grown person was reacting to that versus like a childlike individual. They were just blocking it out, while the adult person was just like facing, like trying to escape. And that's kind of the reality. But don't get it twisted. This grown person still wants to be involved in this. It's just they wanted to be involved in this fantasy of what they put together. My brain is so bad at this point. My brain is so refried. It's so fried. It's so rewired. It's so manipulated to that logic is being removed. Now, I've been saying that my brain is being rewired since day one. It's like something they rewiring my brain. I'm reacting differently, especially toward children. They'll make me. When I see a child, they will make me have this disgusting reaction, sensation, stimulation, thoughts, some kind of things that disturbs me. And the way they would try to make me accept this is like, no, what we're doing is just mapped it to you as a child. It's nonsensicalness. You understand how stupid they have to make themselves be? Now, first of all, you realize that even this logic is just the logic of a freaking retard. I'm sorry for using that word, but truly somebody on the spectrum. But that's their job. They're supposed to gaslight you into accepting these retardations. This nonsensicalness. He's like, what? That's how I thought when I was a kid. I'm an adult. What do you mean? But finding out later on that what we're part of is this cognitive warfare, where we are used target individual as test subject. And they're utilizing this technology that can rewire and manipulate your brain in all different ways. It can make you experience all kind of reactions and stimulation, sensation. And then you have people around you called perps who tend to try to get you to accept these manipulations. And even via V2K, the trickery and the deceptions when they talk, it's like they're in the character mode. I was like, they map you. The things they say to try, and the tonality. If I could record how these people sound, you would think it's like a kid who saw a movie where there's like this like hero who's a badass femme fatale woman, and they're like, okay, this is how I'm gonna sound. But the truth, you look at them, some coward, low life, bottom fears that just make themselves sound this way. And it's like, you're such a childlike individual. And then you see them in person, it's even worse. And they are really trying to make you accept this rewiring and the way you experience things, as if no, but what we're doing actually is we're mapping you and we're making you think the way you would think as a child, and this and that, and now you pay and this. And I'm like, first of all, who are you? And then you find out what they are. These people are working for a program, like I said, where they're using human subjects as test subjects for this technology. Now, the human subjects come in all shape and form. There's men from all races, but also women from all races, and children of all sorts. So you find out that these people talking to you are involved in a program where torturing children is done. So at that point, you understand, it's like, oh my goodness, it's worse than what I thought. They would, at this point, what they try to say is, because what they're trying to make me feel guilty about, or make me feel, not even feel guilty, like what I should look at them as, is they're avenging for what I did as a kid. Now, I keep talking about me in middle school, the stupid thing I did to myself. They're trying to exaggerate that. And it's like, now you're going to pay for it. And you can hear in their voices, they're acting it. They think the way they're going to act is going to counter the reality of who needs to pay for what they do. Right? You can hear the dog barking. This is part of this like theatricals. Because you then hear what is trash talking to you about pay for it. What they should be paid for. They involve in a program where you're going to hear some of the worst torture, and you heard that. But not only to women, but to children. And these cowards lowlife tell me how I'm going to pay for it in a program where they do some of the foulest things you can imagine to children and try to agitate you by saying, oh, it's not fair. I was like, yes, it's fair, because thanks to that, not only I know that you're a freaking retard, but you're lowlife. That the trash like you is just a coward that's going to watch me scream, but you also can watch a child scream in pain. And it makes sense that they use people with the ability to block out such level of, like the ability to block out logic in every way, just because that's their job. They are tasked to gaslight you into creating this facade, this bullshit story that's nonsensical in a way that is magical. Okay. I've been saying since a while, like when I was like, this is rewiring time. They're literally rewiring me. I was like, they're changing me. Like they are not only making me experience things, but they are conditioning me to experience this all the time. They're literally rewiring things. Things that shouldn't be going there are going there. But it's been going on since 2019, August 19, 2000. They've been just like changing how I react, changing, taking something, like literally feel like they're crossing things around. From libido to thoughts to everything, just rewiring. And I've been saying that consistently. Now, I've then heard the testimonies like that's what they're doing. They're literally rewiring. You'll never be the same. You're being changed. You never be experienced. Well, I've already been changed. That today I cannot see certain things because I'm going to be manipulated to experience disgusting things that disturbs me enough to never want to even look at it. This is how they've been rewiring. So listen, there's this piece of Robert Duncan has been, somebody who's been looking at target individuals all around the world, right? Talking to them. And so he has a good sample of what is something that target individual deal with. Now listen to what he says here, and it's going to be clear. But listen to how they try to counter reality. One thing they like to do is to counter the obvious. So you got to understand, these people have to minimize intellect in every possible. They have to minimize any sense of self-respect. They truly have to. And I think that's what children are very much welcome in this. I think children, that's why they appreciate having childlike minded people, because you do have to really minimize your intellect. You truly have to turn off intellect in every way possible, because you're going to hear this and you'll hear how they want me to identify or hear what this man says and how he says it. Listen to this.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so You can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control the brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
So when you hear that, you basically understand that he's saying that there's technology that can implant voices in your brain, but on top of that, once this voice is going to your brain, they can also rewire you, specifically rewire your thought process and your brain. And they do things to push you into making you lose your mind to the point of walking you to your death. So it's, in a way, like you say, something about offensive. So things that are just negative, degrading, rewiring your brain in ways that are so negative that it will push you to your death, right? Now, these people, the reason why I think they like to utilize childlike minded people is because there's a level of dumbing themselves down that they're going to have to do. Not because they're dumb, per se. It's because they have to dumb themselves down. Of course, I don't think I'm a genius, and I don't think that they're this idiotic. But I understand that they have a character to maintain. Because this clearly says, okay, well, they're obviously doing things to your brain to rewire you in a negative way. And the purpose is to push you into a level of insanity, or at least push you to your death. So it has to be that negative. The rewiring is so negative that it will push one to their death. Right? And so the tactics they've been utilizing, and I keep bringing it up, and it's not unique to me, you're going to hear others say that they have been manipulating me in a way of how I perceive children and the reaction when I see children. They force me to get stimulations that are discussing, thoughts that are discussing, all kind of weird manipulated reactions and thoughts and stimulations that are disturbing. And when I mean reactions, like try to like make me feel like a stimulation, or try to make me grab myself, like all kind of manipulation that my brain has been rewired since August 19, 2019. That is all they've been doing, rewiring me, conditioning my brain in disgusting ways, non-stop. Every day is like my brain is just rewired. And I've been saying that since I started making videos like in 2020. I've been talking about how they rewire my libido, rewire my perceptions, rewire my memories, rewire my thoughts, all of that. Bringing that up over and over. And understanding that they were really trying to change me into somebody else. And rewiring my memories, like it's just non-stop. Everything is real, and I'm no longer authentically me. Memory manipulation, thought manipulation. Matter of fact, not too long ago, they were rewiring my memories where, at this point in my brain is so fried up, it's so damaged that memory is, not only my memories are manipulated, but they also like reshuffling the memories. For example, they bring up after August 19, 2019, where my brain is rewired, bring back something they made me experience after the rewiring started, and make me feel like it was before, and try to confuse me because at this point, my memories are just fading away. Things are just blurring. To try to make me accept these pedophilia things. It's continuous rewiring. Now, these people said something so nasty. And I'm just trying to be strong. This trash, the way they try to counter, there's a lot of countering reality because they want me to somehow identify with this manipulation. The one thing they do is once they rewire you to experience something, you're going to hear noise campaign. With me, it's getting to the point where they forget about just noise campaign. They want to torture me, hoping that the torture is going to make it less like they are manipulating me. I'm like, I'll run to it. I guess this is my irrational part there because I will run to something that's going to do so much damage and harmful things to me just for the simple fact that I don't want these bottom feeders who are doing this thing cowardly, in this cowardly way, live in this fantasy. I will run to a very torturous situation for the sole purpose of not let this low life live any of this fantasy. I want them to continuously look at themselves for the trash that they are, to the point that me will run to something I know is going to do horrible things to me. You know what they say to try to counter this? I hear a childlike individual tell me that I raped her. This is the kind of disgusting human beings we're talking about. And so to try to counter what this man said, that they obviously are rewiring. You hear, I've said that before, and I said it before. It's like I'm being rewired. He's clearly saying this is what's happening to these people. They are being rewired, and they try to push them into their death in whatever fashion. You heard mass shootings happening. These people were driven to that by voices saying negative things to them, to the point where the anger was so much that this individual decided to get a gun and shoot up a whole place, killing children too, or at least killing one child, walking this person to his death, but not only his death but others' death. So you're going to hear multiple mass shootings that were pushed to that, because this target individual was pushed to that level, but a lot of other people were, just ended up just doing bad, dying and killing themselves or things like that. But we are rewired. Now, the first part, he says something, there's 4 techniques. 4 techniques. When they say 4, the way they've been trying to also manipulate me, to make me accept this manipulation of how they rewire me, right? To make me accept the rewiring tactics they make me experience today. When they say 4, they're supposed to make me think of me as a child. And like I said, they try to find whatever they can hold on to vilify you. So for me, as a kid in middle school, I did something stupid to myself, which they have to exaggerate, right? And when they say 4, I'm supposed to think, oh, remember what you did, 4, I'm like, first of all, these people torture 4-year-old kids, by the way. They have to exaggerate what I did as a child. And to counter what this man is saying, that they're rewiring the brain, they try to say, no, we're just rewiring you to think what you did as a child. We're now rewiring your brain to see children and have these reactions. We're now rewiring you to have sexual stimulation toward children. We're now rewiring you in this way. We're not doing this pedophilia type of torture, which you're going to hear this term said, because they have these consistent tactics of manipulations, of rewiring individuals. And a lot of it is like pedophilia type of tormenting. And you're going to hear that. So to counter the fact that this man is clearly saying this target individual are no longer thinking the way they are being rewired. Their brain is no longer there. It's their thought process. Their brain completely are being rewired. Saying exactly what I'm saying, that this is the reason why I'm experiencing these reactions and these thoughts, is because this trash are rewiring my brain. And for these bottom feeders who, I guess, see this thing as a cognitive warfare, which is not a cognitive warfare in the sense that we're the enemies. We're just the target, the test subjects. So they're utilizing this cognitive warfare onto us, test subjects, and to counter the reality, because they want you to lose touch of reality. They try to, they say, no, the only thing we're rewiring you to experience is when you say 4, we're going to make you think of what you did as a kid in middle school. But we're now rewiring you to have this nasty sexual stimulation toward children. No, we're not doing that. Or if anything, we're making you experience what you experienced when you were a kid. Trash. You understand how delusional it is? Now, one of the obvious rewiring tactics is this pedophilia type of torture. I keep bringing that up. They force people to have sexual reactions toward children. And this is not me saying that. Others have said the exact same things. The pedophilia type of torture is not a term I used. It's not a term that I came up with. This woman say this word, and I was like, this is exactly what I'm expressing. This is what I want to express, that they are doing this pedophilia type of torture. This is what I'm going through. As I'm saying that, they try to rewire this stuff in the different level. It's just stupidity. I couldn't even describe the thought manipulation I'm experiencing right now to counter this. And they're making noise campaign. Now listen to what I'm talking about. This consistent tactics of rewiring people, and tell me if you don't see how and what tactics they utilize to break you down. Listen to this.
If somebody trying to end my life, if somebody trying to end who I am as a person, if somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing.
So I slow down the audio of this just so you can clearly hear what this target individual said, and describing exactly what I'm going through. There's people around this individual who he thinks are involved in this manipulation, taking over her brain and making her think in this disturbing pedo. She didn't even finish up the whole word, but she's like, you know what I mean, right? And I slowed down on purpose so you can hear what she was trying to say. Now it doesn't end there. There's a clear pattern that is just obvious. Listen to this.
Referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my...
So she called it the pedophilia type of torture. That's where I use this word from, because this is what I'll go through. The pedophilia type of torture is what they've done. It doesn't end there. Others are saying the same thing about this kind of sexual stimulations and perceptions toward children. Listen to that.
Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him, I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost. So I thought, look at this losers. Don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
So you hear, and once again I slowed the audio, but you hear how this woman is being rewired, where they made her have some stimulations toward her pets and then people, young people, children, and homosexuals. They did the same thing with me. Children, they do it all the time. This is what breaks me down. The others is not really the, as long as they're adult, I don't care too much. But they force me to have sexual stimulation other places that weren't just kids. They're nasty. The kids' sexual stimulations is what they used to break me down. But it's not the only individuals they force me to get sexual stimulation toward. This is nasty. But you hear her clearly say children, because that's what they do. And every time, I bring that up, because it shows how disgusting and low life these bottom feeders are. They're working for governmental entities where these techniques of breaking people down is continuously happening. I mean, the rewiring is just not only like even your dreams are manipulated. Your libido is manipulated. Your dreams are manipulated. Listen to this woman talk about the dreams that she has. They do that all the time with me.
Often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
So you also hear that the dreams manipulated. They do the pedophilia type of dreams and other things to torment you. So this continuous rewiring, rewiring of the libido, which I've made a video about. And of course, what do you think they can rewire? Just like this woman. They rewire the brain in every fashion, including your libido. This man literally clearly said, basically step by step, the different manipulation that can be done via this technology. I don't know these people talking, but they're saying the same thing as me. Listen to this.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
So, as I'm saying, they're trying to do something, but so you heard this, libido, sexual arousals can be manipulated. They rewire that too. It's continuous rewiring of the brain and the thoughts and the perceptions. Matter of fact, listen to what this woman described what she calls the V2K. V2K is voice to skull. This is what this man was talking earlier on, which we're going to listen to it again. And the ability to manipulate. And this is because she experiences that thoughts, perceptions, and so much other things. But listen to it.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just...
So you hear that these manipulations are done. The thoughts, the perceptions, all of that is rewired. And it's very perverted. And it's not perverted in the sense of, they're making you look at a woman. And this is not what's going to break somebody down. The perverted manipulations are not perverted toward women or even just men. This is not going to... No man or woman is going to lose their mind because of that. The manipulations that are manipulating to the perverse way are toward children. This is how they rewire you to break you down. It's non-stop. They're trying to counter that every time I bring up this. It's obvious. Kind at the end of the day, I understand that we're just test subject. Now, these perps around me, they still, I think the perps kind of rewire themselves to in a way. Right? The reality of what they're part of is something they want to cope with, and so they try to make themselves believe in different reality. It's funny, when you see who's talking to you, you're like, you're a clown, and they tell, like, the things they say, right? For example, I'm hearing this person interacting with me via voice to skull. And she's telling me, and she's using this tonality. It's all about like gimmickiness. It's like a character they play. And they want to sound like cold-hearted and like this badass. And I'm hearing this, somebody who sounds like a child. Right? Like a child who's wanting to sound like a badass, femme fatale, cold-hearted individual, which it sounds fake. It sounds like this is how she makes herself sound. And she's like, no, we do this, we're gonna frame you, we're gonna do this to you, it's war, it's this and that. And you see who's talking to you, right? Try to disorient you into accepting this manipulation. Listen, I know they're gonna frame me because these bottom feeders truly were embarrassed by reality. The embarrassment of reality of what they're part of is just embarrassing. They were even calling me they will call me their pedophile. Finding out later on that the fact that there's a lot of problem and issues with pedophilia and these entities, governmental entities, because obviously the DoD is running this program. Obviously, like there's some intelligence community involvement here, and so those are the same entities where there's been consistent issues with pedophilia, where there's been a bill that was just not too long ago in 2019 passed to limit the amount of child porn that is being downloaded using the DoD network, because the DoD network at the time in 2018 was ranked 19th out of 2,900. 2018, it's not too long ago. About 2 years before COVID. The DoD network was ranked 19th out of 2,900 in regard of trafficking the most child porn. So, like the reality of that, on top of that, they're supposed to make me believe that they are protecting kids and this and that and this, the deceptions are just nonsensical at this point. So I'm going to have to, I understand that there'll be a lot of torture applied onto me. Because on top of that, you just heard the testimony that validates me that in a sense that they have these tactics of rewiring the brain to break you down. So for me, I'm like, this is just too humiliating. Matter of fact, as I said, I heard this purpose, something that they kept saying a lot. And for me specifically, they say, black girl, that's true. Because when you have this reaction to black girls, it's us mapping you to you as a child. That's how you used to see black girls. You see, black girls. And truly make me have this reaction that they say, that's how I experienced when I was a kid. Rewire my brain in this way where they're saying they're not rewiring me, but they're making me think the way I thought when I was a kid, especially black little girls. That's how you felt. This is black girls are girls, and make me have this experience that I experience now, which is because I'm being rewired in these pedophilia ways. I don't know if this woman that talked about pedophilia type of torture say it was white baby, black baby. But the point is, pedophilia tormenting is utilized. And for me, to make me accept this, they tell me that this is what they've mapped to me as a child, which on its own, it says a lot. But we have understood that they are rewiring their brain. You are no longer yourself. Whatever reaction you have toward babies, from the black little girls to white little girls to whatever, little boys, those stimulations are what they force you to experience. In my head, they're bringing up the things that make me experience and say, hey, we mapped this. No, you've made me experience that because you have rewired my brain to have this experience. It's part of this cognitive warfare that we're just test subjects to. Listen to this person interacting with a podcaster who's a target individual who says, okay, well, why would people do that? Why would they do that? Why would they, rewire the brain in these disgusting ways? Where then you have this trash coming up and you say, oh, we mapped it. No, we mapped it. It's because we are test subjects to what the future looks like, or what the future warfare might look like. Listen to this.
My guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
You alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities,
and it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay,
So you heard that. Altering the mind. And not only altering the mind, but he says something at the end, personality rebuilt. So recreating your personality, rewiring you. It's part of this. And for me, when they say personality rebuilt, like, no, we're rebuilding you like as when you were a kid. It's stupidity. The level of nonsensicalness about it is just crazy. But that's what they do. Now, for me, I know that I'm going to lose myself. Of course, there's nothing I can do. I'm a test subject for governmental cognitive manipulation program with very sophisticated technology. These perps talking to me, they try to present themselves as anything but this mass government using human subjects as a program, as a test subject for this program. Matter of fact, even that is mentioned. Like, listen to this person talking about it right now. Everything they do has been well testified about. Listen to this.
Okay, so they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so, anyway, our inner...
So they try to present this as anything but this massive government doing this thing to you. But that's the unfortunate part of it. As I'm speaking right now, I'm struggling to speak. It's just, I don't know if that they're restricting my lungs, but I'm having a problem with breathing. But they do these things with lungs, which you're going to hear about what they've done to children. But they try to make you believe that this is anything but this mass government, and they have this created facade, like, now we're mapping our children, we're protecting our children, a bunch of trash, working for governmental entities and implementing these tactics onto us test subject. These people implementing the tactics are definitely not, they are contracted, right? And they do these things, and it seems like, they contract civilians to do this, because it seems like it's a lot of dedication from human beings there needed to be there observing the manipulations and participating in the manipulations. And so it seems like they need civilian contracted individuals to partake. But please understand, this is truly a program led by the government. And of course they create facades of all sorts. But before I wrap up this part, please listen to this man coming in the bioethic meeting or conference that was in 2011. A bunch of target individuals came up and spoke about what's happening to them. There's a consistency of what they do to people. They consistently use the same tactics and tweak around things that can be improved. And what it means by improved, what is going to break down the target individual even better? Is this worse than the other? We are just truly guinea pigs. We're truly guinea pigs. We just endure what's going to happen to us. There's nothing we can do, because these people doing this thing to us are not these civilians with their money. For me, it's funny. They like to use childlike-minded people. And these childlike-minded people trying to portray themselves as like, we're winners, we're going to win this. Like, there's nothing, we can't win or lose as target individual. We're just going to endure. But these people are so childlike, they're so childish, as you can hear the noise campaign, that they can try to create this as like a battle of like they're gonna win or lose, and like it's like kids playing, acting like you can have any other option. There's really nothing you can do to truly stop this. I mean, some people they move out of the place to become homeless. They live a life where they keep moving around. Some people have places and decide to be homeless even when they have apartments. So listen to this man. And I hope you hear the noise campaign is part of how they're supposed to make me feel like agitated. But listen to this.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, is for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB rule. It's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
Thank you.
So you hear this man talking about how he talked to multiple target individuals, all saying the same things, and being, looking like this is more of a weapon development where cognitive manipulation and control is being developed via this technology, right? Going back to the fact that you are being cognitively manipulated and rewired. Now, when you hear this thing, right, this man saying this thing, listen.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
So when you hear that, you understand that there is this tactics of rewiring the brain is how they push target individual into losing their mind. This, when I hear that, I think about those who ended up killing The mass shootings that we hear about, there's a mass shooting that just happened not too long ago, and this man killed 18 people. He was hearing voices. The voices were calling him a pedophile. This is a typical degrading things they say to target individual. And of course, they try to say, no, he was throwing, because he was in military and then throwing grenades and the grenades, as he was working a training place where they threw grenades, the low explosive, reactions impacted his brain, and his brain was damaged, and that's what caused him to do this. And it's obvious that he was a target individual because those specific symptoms of, you start hearing the voices, and the voices say derogative things. It's not like they say anything else, they just say derogative things. And you can have this paranoia thinking that the whole world is this typical target individual, and he ended up killing 18 people. Like this man said, just really making somebody do the most irrational, illogical thing. Because they made this man believe that the people he started shooting at were calling him a pedophile. And he's not the first one and the last one to go through that. So, but when I hear that, they always try to counter reality, because what they want me to get out of this is to hear the 4 techniques to implant those voices, right? And they say 4, and like, 4. And when I hear the voice, I hear them say 4, they want me to think, but remember what you did as a kid. You pay for that. You pay for what you did as a child. First of all, what I did as a child is one they have to exaggerate. But a child is capable of doing what I did as a child at that age. I look back at it, I'm embarrassed in a way, but I understand that's what kids are capable of. And I know that today what they make me experience is not me as a child, which is on its own sounds very logical. But it's how they want me to accept what's happening to me, that they are making me think like I was thinking like a child. It's just logical. Even when they try to be logical about it. But the truth is, these people torture children. The breakdown and the way they try to destroy the target individual and make them stress consists of also torturing children. They do torture the children, and it's perhaps what helps drive a target individual into insanity. Imagine you are witnessing your child or somebody's child that you're responsible for being tortured. I was looking for this, I was on Facebook. I saw at some point, which I couldn't find anymore, this woman who's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, saying that there's a 3-year-old, there's a 19-year-old, and a mother urgently need help because we're being attacked by EMF. Right? So whole family being tortured. This is when she said she was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I tried to find this comment again. I couldn't find it. Like you see, it never existed. So they really try to really make you be doubtful of the obvious stuff. But you're gonna have plenty of. I've heard enough testimonies in regard of children being also tortured or targeted. So when they try to say, now you pay for it, they involve in a program where they're using DoD technology to harm children, infants, toddlers. Please listen to this.
Miss Catherine Nestor. My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I asked Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
So you hear this, and I slow down the testimony of Catherine Nestor. She calls out the fact that her and her young child are both used as test subject, and they are being damaged not only psychologically but physically because of what they're experiencing with this DoD technology. It's nasty what they do. It's foul. And this trash talking about pay now are involved in a program where they even use young children as test subject. This lowlife truly wants you to forget the reality. And this is a tactic they like to do because they want you to make you believe this is happening to you because of this and that. It's a bullshit story. It's happening to you because they need human subject, like this man said, from all culture, all places, to continuously improve this technology, this development of this weapon, I guess, on us. I mean, this obviously can be done for good, but on us is done in a negative way. So it's clear that they're doing these things to even children. Matter of fact, listen to this other testimony, and this others I'm not going to bring up, but they are torturing children too. They are using test subjects that are children. So this trash, trying to counter reality, make themselves believe that in some fantasy of theirs, that they are not in this program where children are literally dying or suffering because of what they're experiencing within those technology. But they are the one protecting children. You understand the level of self-delusion they have to create? Of course, they know the reality of these incentives. They want to enjoy these incentives, but they want to find a way to cope with the reality of what they're part of. That's why they have to dumb themselves down. I don't think I'm a genius, but I know how people can try to cope with the reality of things. So to cope with the reality, they come up with this fantasy of what they're part of. They enjoy the fact that they can be godly in a sense. They can see me and manipulate me in these different ways, rewire me in different ways. And it's not only just me, but people around me. Like, it's just the level of empowerment they get out of it can make them dumb themselves down to the point where they create this fantasy. And, this is not done by a few people. Your whole ecosystem is filled with people who are trying to make you accept this false reality. So now also then they dumb themselves down and make themselves fantasize that they're the one protecting and avenging children, when in a program where you heard what just happened to this woman and her young child. It doesn't even end there. Listen to this.
Language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister, who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay.
So you hear this. I slowed down the audio so you can clearly hear what target individual deal with and how mean they are to the point of torturing children. Now, these people, this trash involved in this program, they're really trying to normalize what I just heard. Matter of fact, they try to agitate me by saying, "Oh, we're men." And then 2 seconds later tell me, "Oh, our girls." They are trying to normalize the horrible things they're involved in and then try to make you believe that they are here protecting children. They are low-life trash opportunists that have joined a program where they torture children and are living life day in and day out to make you believe and make you accept this rewiring they make you experience while trying to counter everything they can. Remember the 4-year-old that was being tortured with the 5-year-old sister, both of them with Down syndrome? Can you imagine when I hear 4, they try to make me think of me as a kid and the stupid thing I did to myself as a child in middle school while they involved in a program where 4-year-old and 5-year-old are sexually tortured using these devices that can do so much harmful so much harmful things to people. You heard that woman, Catherine Nestor, and her young children saying they're both damaged psychologically and physically because of these technologies and these tactics of breaking people down. So when you hear this,
brains. And so this gets into what's called there are 4 different techniques. There are 4 different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, "Lay down your guns, this is Allah." And it worked pretty well because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
So you hear this. And if you ever wonder what entities are really working on this technology, who's been working on this technology, it's simple. Listen to this piece on History Channel, and bringing up the reality of what really is going on, and what entities been working on altering the mind for years.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
So you hear that DARPA since the 60s been working on technology that can alter the mind. Since the 60s. Showing a clear obviousness where this come from and how long they've been working on this. So I just want to wrap up this by saying we are rewired, and these nasty experiences we're experiencing now. Even me speaking right now, they try to trick me to say something else. Even my speech is manipulated. It's ways to break us down. And somebody said something, you kill yourself. And I'm like, I obviously at this point, it's not something I wish to do. But if I'm being tortured to that level, I can see why I will get to that point. Because this is the goal. But you understand the people doing that to you are people involved in a program that also torture children. You hear the people telling you now you pay are involved in a program that is literally doing horrible things to children, even suffocating children. And for me, they use childlike individuals because they think if it comes from a child saying that, I will forget that they're torturing children in this program. But perps, they started this perps early. There's some children, I'm sure that in the future will be torturing children. Or children now will, when they grow up, be torturing children. I know I was shocked by the amount of, like, the very young people, how young those people were, saying that they've been doing that to others before. I was like, there's no way you're too young to be. It's like, no. Finding out, yes. Target individuals say there's a lot of perps, young people, either young adults or some of them are kids, involved in what's happening to them. So when I hear a child saying, oh, you pay for that, and then this, I know that this child talking to me could comfortably be involved in the torment and torture of not only women, but children. And this is done remotely. We are just, the labs are not in the actual labs. It's just wherever we are a target individual, it can be turned into a lab. Because this technology is done to us remotely, as this man said. So do not identify with these manipulations and see this low life involved in this program. People who are very much aware what this is, this is impacting, what it's being done to whom and what it has caused. They are very much okay with that. They just find ways to cope with the reality of what they're part of. But the incentives seems to be so good for anybody to want to involve themselves, finding joy and enjoy themselves in doing this, because it truly feels, I think, the empowerment, and this is me speculating, I can imagine just the empowerment of just having the ability to work with this kind of sophisticated technology, to can do so much horrible things to somebody remotely. They are going to find a way to cope with what they're involved in, even if it means that you're involved in a program that does that to women and children. Some of them have done that to women and children. But man, when am I going to have this opportunity? And I'm sure the incentives are great. We're talking about DoD. I'm sure the financial incentives are also very, very, very good. But I know that perhaps more than just the financial aspect of it can be appealing. So to all my target individuals, do not identify with these manipulations. Whatever ways they have rewired you, your thoughts, your brain, your libido, your thoughts, your perceptions, your memories, do not identify. This is a cognitive warfare that we're test subject to, we're guinea pigs to. So to all my target individuals, stay strong.